welcome back to the Chatooine show, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the best and brightest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. We're a wretched hive of scum and villainy, and here on Wednesday nights, this is what we do. We talk about the most important topics in the Star Wars fandom, and right now, it's the Bad Batch. I'm Star Wars only. Today, I'm joined with Lunga, Palp Memes, and Star Wars Sith. We actually have a lot to get into today's show. We have a season 3 premiere of the Bad Batch, a new Mandalorian game from Respawn that was just reported on. And at the end of the show, we have a very special announcement for next week's show. Actually, not next week, 2 weeks from now, March the 6th. We have a very special guest that will be coming on. So stay tuned for that. If you're watching this live, please smash the like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the show. Stay up to date on all these episodes that we do. So, Lunga, it's mostly been you and me for the Bad Batch, these conversations that we've had. And they've always been the worst episodes of Chatooine. This might not be the worst because we have 2 more people. And we actually have new Bad Batch content to talk about. But everyone here knows how me and Lunga feel about the Bad Batch. And before we get into the actual season 3, Sith, Palp Memes, tell us your guys' thoughts on the Bad Batch up to this point. Sith, go first because we've never heard your opinion on the Bad Batch. Me and Lunga hate it, like with almost every fiber in our body. It is a strong dislike on this end. But how do you feel about the Bad Batch?
So I don't hate it, but I'm kind of like, it's cool, but it's like 50-50. So like half of it is either like really cool, it's building up lore, there's stuff in there I like, or the other half is just Sid missions that mean nothing and nothing happens and Omega's just mad annoying. But the episodes that I do like has like, like Rex, you got Commander Cody, you had like the Zillow Beast, so like lore building stuff, which
the member berries.
Yeah,
I was trying to get your attention, Lunga.
I love to member.
But all those member berries, like they make sense for the story because like this is the peak time when Palps is in his prime, Vader's lurking in the cut. So I was always 50-50 with it, but we'll talk about what I think about this third season because to me this third season is different than the first 2.
Now, Palp Memes, I don't think we've had your take on season 2 of Bad Batch. I know you were around for the first season. What do you think about the Bad Batch?
I was here. I was in full shill mode for the first season. The Bad Batch is one of those things where it's like I don't see it breaking anything, so I can't be like I hate it or I'm upset at it. I simply find its existence utterly pointless for the most part. I feel the resources used for this show could be used in other eras, or if you do want to do a story set between the conversion from the clone troopers to the Empire, there's a much better and better story to tell with that. I don't think this show is horrible, though I'd argue, like the Clone Wars show as a whole, most of it is utterly useless and pretty much just filler. I never watched the second season, which is partially why I haven't been involved with the Bad Batch episodes of the Chatooine show. But watching the first 3 episodes of season 3, I'm pretty much caught up to speed. I don't feel I'm missing anything major. And so I'm sure I'll be fine for the rest of it.
I gotta say this, Trent, it's Star Wars Zone. Tell me if you felt the same way I did. The recap at the beginning of the first episode, a recap of season 2, was literally the best parts of season 2, and that's all you needed to know. And the rest of the stuff, you didn't even need to fucking know.
Yeah,
I felt like I understood. Like, Omega's captured. They're doing experiments on her. They need her blood for whatever. Okay, cool.
I thought about like season 2, and I was like, dang, like I don't even remember how many episodes are in it. Like 16.
16,
again?
yeah.
That's way too many.
I don't remember hardly any of them. The one that sticks out in my mind the most was the Crosshair one.
Crosshair and Cody. And
yes,
Mayday.
and that one, and then the one where he's on the planet by himself on the snow planet. He kills
Mayday.
the lieutenant. Like
Mayday,
Mayday. That was such a good episode.
Yep.
Like such a good episode. Very powerful. That's really it from season 2 that I can.
I did like this the Indiana Jones one, the going inside that big robotic.
The Zillow looking
the
beast.
Zepho.
Looking beast? Yeah.
The Zepho beast. Which,
now
if anyone's ever played, what's the name of the video game now? The video game's escaping me.
Fallen Order.
No, not even that. It's out. Not even a Star Wars game. Similar to the stuff you see. I forgot the name of it now. But anyway, that one I remembered. I don't know, that one I liked that one, even though it was not really story building, and I actually like the characters in that
substance.
Yeah, but yeah, there's just too many episodes, and I don't know if it's like a Clone War thing, because Clone Wars had a lot of episodes and they want to follow the same format.
Yeah.
But it was Clone Wars was a different time. There was nothing going on in Star Wars, right? That's like all people had was Clone Wars. And they're like, well, let's keep this going, and it's mostly for kids, even though adults watched it, you know. But this is like, if you want to tell this story, and you could tell it's a limited story, right?
Yeah.
You said, okay, we're going to do 16 episodes. Okay, but the main story arc is probably only 4 to 6 episodes. So we're going to have 10 filler episodes just to do character development, which is not, we literally had an entire season. Season 2 is literally nothing but just like circular character development of the same characters. It's like, it's
It's
like
the opposite of Ahsoka. Ahsoka was basically all plot, no character, whereas the Bad Batch seems to be the opposite, you know?
Well, and I think the difference between Clone Wars and Bad Batch is that the Clone Wars had a cast that you already knew when it came to Anakin and Obi-Wan and other Jedi members. You introduced Ahsoka, that's a new character, we build her up and everything. But they really, you know, we talk about filler episodes. There's so many arcs in the Clone Wars that aren't about Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, or maybe it's only about one of them. Like, there's so many characters to expand on and develop in that series that it does kind of, you know, the argument that I've heard surprisingly lately is people being like, oh, Bad Batch is like one of the best, if not the best animated series in Star Wars, and Clone Wars is now becoming like something that's like overrated. I'm like, do you guys not remember the time of the Clone Wars? Like, it's very powerful in its storytelling and the way it expands on everything. Bad Batch is very focused on these groups of people that we know, and it doesn't really expand beyond that, beyond the Clone Force 99 and Omega. And I think there's a reason for that, is because they're trying to develop this in a very certain way. So when it comes to season 3, we all watched it today, I presume, and the first episode was Imprisoned on Tantus. Well, no, that's not the name. What was it?
Confined.
Confined. Yeah, the description was Imprisoned on Tantus, Omega adjust to a new life. Starting out with this one, Lunga, did you watch it? How'd you feel about it? Did you like it?
Of the 3, I liked it a lot, but it's not surprising, because the way the show was, season 1, season 2, and now, their opening episode is always the strongest. It's always just like season 1, the first episode. Oh my God, the Star Wars feel in that, because we're like going through Order 66 and right into, you know, so it was like, whoa, you know. And
the opening crawl had the Clone Wars logo that faded into the Bad Batch and everything.
Right. Cool. So, you know, with this one, it was good, right? It had a certain darkness to it that I liked, you know, kind of overshadowing everything that was going on. Especially after watching the recap, you know, Tech is gone, and I hope he stays dead. Please do not bring him back. He needs to stay dead, or else the whole whatever emotional impact this show has had is gone. So he needs to stay dead. Okay. Omega going through what she's going through, and then the way they did it, right? The repetition and she hated being there. I liked that. Even though I can't stand Omega, I liked it. Okay. I still don't know where they're going with this whole Emery thing. Did she just dye her hair? Is that why she's a redhead? Even though her and Omega are basically sisters, or the same thing? Because she's like a redhead and Omega's blonde.
I have no idea.
I don't know what's going on.
I hate both of their accents. The way she said Omega. Omega.
So everyone knows. Star Wars only hates New Zealand. He just does not like New Zealand.
No, it's a beautiful country. Hates women, but sure. Hey, I'm friends with Daniel Logan, who I believe is from New Zealand. I'm sorry.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, he has a mild accent.
Yes, and I think it's very pleasant. I've this man is.
I think you're friends with him despite his accent. Is what I think is what it is. Yeah. So it had a lot of dark overtones, which I enjoyed. You had a lot of dealing with the repercussions of everything that's happened. You know what I mean? And I really liked it. I liked the teases that they were doing. You know, because they can't say, like we all talk about the words you can't say anymore, right? You can't say the N word, you can't say the F word, you can't say the M word in Star Wars. Okay. So you can't say the M word.
Even midichlorians? We don't say that around here.
Stop! You're gonna get everyone canceled. You can't say that.
Star Wars
can't say that.
Damn it! Gotta talk to HR again.
It's the M word.
You can't say midichlorians anymore.
Right.
Or member.
Right. You remember? I remember. But it's so they had the M count and they teased it, which we already know, and we'll get into it when we talk about episode 3 because they kind of know what we've all been realizing they're doing. Which me and Pelpamese, I've been saying, this is what they're doing. This is the whole point of everything that they're doing in this era is to deal with the sequels. But I like that. I like how they did what Nala say. So the episode 1 I enjoyed. It was a good entry, and I was knowingly stupidly hopeful that it was going to continue, but knowing full well once I got to episode 2, it was not going to be that end. It wasn't. That's how I feel about it, and I think it's good. I wish if they actually made some story and actually made it a little longer, being there, because this whole first 3 episode arc, obviously. We'll get to chat what happens in episode 3, but she's not there for long. So I think exploring that a little more would have been a little more fun. But yeah.
Palpabeams, as someone who missed all of season 2 and just hopped right into episode 1, season 3, how did you feel about this episode?
Y'all remember another Star Wars show that dealt with an arc within a prison by the Empire? Y'all remember something like that? You may have heard.
I remember Andor.
Called Andor. One of the most brilliant written shows or stories in Star Wars, literally since the dawn of Star Wars. Yeah, this episode reminded me of why I miss and love Andor so much, because it had
she's not in prison.
The tone and the themes of what Andor had, but just the writing and character depth and development, getting you to fall in love and just care about these random prisoners aren't even there for a right reason. The episode definitely was, I would say, the most intriguing out of the 3, specifically because I've never personally minded Omega. I'm comparative to Lunga. I never minded her. I don't care about her as a character. They haven't really done a good enough job to get me to be invested or caring. But out of the 3, I like the tone of it. And I'm going to be really boring on this show because today's episode of the Chatooine show, because I don't have much to say about this. It lacks so much substance. And I need that in Star Wars, and the show simply doesn't give me that. So, while out of the 3 it was enjoyable, I can't say I'm ever going to go back and watch it again.
It's funny that you say it doesn't have the substance, because from my end, and someone who hasn't liked the series a lot, this first 3 episodes, mainly 1 and 3, have a lot more substance than most of the other seasons combined at this point. Like it's
You're
crazy.
Comparing it, how high or low is the bar, though? I'm comparing this to a story, right? Compared to what we have had. Compare it to Andor, which is a very similar situation, right? A story within a prison. Just compare the level of substance to that, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh, but you have Tony Gilroy writing versus whoever the hell has been writing this series. I know it's not Dave Filoni, but Sith, give us your takes on this first episode combined.
So surprisingly, I enjoyed it. Omega was always annoying to me, but she didn't annoy me in this first episode, and I was really intrigued with her struggle there and why they wanted her blood, and just the little things was really interesting. How Nala Se was not putting it in the system and making sure it was getting thrown away. So it did remind me of Andor a lot, but Andor I could not stand. It was just so boring. I didn't enjoy that slow burn at all. This was a slow burn, but I was still intrigued and bought in, and I was really surprised because usually on the slower episodes, I want more action, I want more go go go. But I was fine with the slow burn in the first episode because I want to know what the heck is going on Mount Tantus and what they have in that back room. When we saw that door open up with all the laser beams, I wanted to be back there to see what Palps had cooking.
Remember Phantom Menace? Remember? I remember.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah. Those,
May 19th, 1999. I remember very well.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Sith on this one. I didn't really mind this episode all that much. And talking about the slow burn aspect of it, wasn't hardly any action at the beginning. There's a crash landing. and I was like, oh, this is kind of an interesting start to a story like this and everything. A little dark, I guess. It did something that I've been asking for this show to do for 2 seasons now. Is tell me what the hell are we doing here? What is so
Yeah.
interesting about Omega? Like what just tell me what's going on. And it's frustrating in a way because they bring up the whole M count thing, and I'm like, okay, that's I'm 99.999% certain that's midichlorians. God damn it, just say midichlorians.
Yeah.
So like you understand what's going on, but you still want a little bit more connection. I like that Nala Day or whatever the hell her name is like throwing away the samples from Omega, but then there's times where I think about it where I'm like, this girl's been there for months. No one's noticed that they don't have
Yeah.
a single
Yeah,
test thing from Omega.
I have an issue with that,
writing things
and
like
I'm going to
that.
get to it.
Writing things like that are like the flaws in the show where I'm like a little annoyed with. But there are aspects of this that I do like Longo was talking about earlier of like, we may not like Omega all that well, but this episode did her a little bit more justice because instead of having to rely on the other 5 guys of the Bad Batch, however many there are, she's having to do everything on her own. And
Mhm.
there's a time jump where you assume at least a couple months that maybe,
yeah.
So she's not older. Like I don't know how old this girl is. She might. I would say from like 11 to like 13. So like I guess we're now seeing her go from like, oh, you're like like a little child to like, oh, now you're becoming like a young woman where eventually 10 years from now you're going to look like Emery and everything. You're starting to see that become Omega. That was kind of nice, but for the most part, I just was happy to see the story go somewhere for the first time in a very long time. So I was more than happy with this beginning of this series for this season because it is so much better than what we've gotten. I think since season 1 started off. But like Lunga said, the first episode of each season tends to be better than a lot of the other episodes
Yeah.
in that season. Let's go on to go ahead.
I just want to before we I don't know if we're moving on to the next episode, but I just want to say one thing about the Omega and her blood and everything, and the way Nala say is keeping it out and everything, and like would not tell her it's like it's just better off. It's just better. They're going to make her force sensitive, right?
I feel that's after episode 3. I feel like that's where we're going here, and that's gonna
Either she is force sensitive, or her genetic profile, even though she's a clone, there's something about hers that what they're trying to do in all these samples and studies with her, it would work, and that's why she's keeping it hidden.
And
that's
Nala
going to annoy me.
knew that too. Like I think it's clear that she knew Omega had whatever they were looking for. We haven't seen her be force sensitive throughout the whole series, though. So it would.
Well, in
It
that
would be a
first,
She does a
little
lot of things the kid can't do normally. She's just
like in that first season, like when she was in the cave with that creature, it's almost like she was using like that same control that Ezra would have, where he could connect with the animals, and she kind of did that again with that one animal too. So there's been little things where it's kind of like, you
gotta remember how we see it with young people, because both Anakin and Luke, only way it manifested was their reflexes and flying. Pod racing and flying. That's the only way it manifested. There was nothing else. There's like, well, he's a damn good pilot.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Their reflexes.
That's even in the Darth Bane novels where he's just a really great soldier, and then it comes to find out he has the Force and everything. But yeah, let's get into episode 2. What was that one called? Paths of something.
Paths Unknown.
Paths Unknown. And it was unknown why they made this episode. I will be frank. This was the immediate back to normal kind of bullshit for me, where I was like, man, this is not a very great episode. It was a little redundant and forgettable, honestly. Like I've watched all 3 episodes twice now. Once last night when it premiered at 3 a.m. and then right before the show started. And I couldn't even remember at the end of this episode like what they had received from it. I was like, did they get the location and whatever? I was not a big fan of this one at all. So who's going for Lunga? What did you think about Paths? I know you said you started off good and then to episode 2.
I was falling asleep, bro. I was falling asleep. I'm like, okay, so it's bad enough we got this fucking kid, and now they find 3 more fucking kids. It's like, and at least hers is an excuse, right? Because she doesn't have. She's like Boba. She doesn't have the accelerated aging. It's like, oh, what? These are the ones that decanted right before shit happened. It's like, and they, And they find him, and it's like, okay, we have this filler episode to show that Hunter and Wrecker are looking for Omega. We know that was the last fucking words they said in season 2. We will find him no matter what. I know. I know that's what they're doing. I like the opening. It was kind of cool with them being these kind of mercenaries and going to God, that Clancy Brown played the one character Mandalorian. What's the race called again with the horns?
Oh, I forgot the name.
I have no earthly idea.
Yes. It was a great Clancy Brown played him in Mandalorian, which was awesome. But yeah, so there's some kind of crime syndicate with them, and you know, Wrecker and Hunter brought in some pike that they were looking for. I like that opening. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this might be okay. And they're like, okay, you got to go here. And I'm like, okay, it's not going to be Wayland. Here we go. And they go there, and it's not Wayland, and it's someplace they used to be. And the whole episode is, do we know? I don't know. Thank you, Grievous. Yeah, Deveronian. Thank you. That's what it is, Deveronians. And they get there, and there's nothing going on. They find clone kids. No, we were just let go. We were just fending for ourselves. Okay, so they're Peter Pan and the Lost Boys on this planet, just fending for themselves. And I guess they're doing this because there was that. Remember, we talked about this last week where someone quoted, I forgot who it was on Twitter. Someone said, one of the actors from voice actors from Bad Batch said, "Oh, it's sad that this is the last season of Bad Batch, but the story's just beginning." So it tells me that we might see these younger clones, because we know how old Rex was, right? By the time we got to Rebels and stuff. Okay, so maybe these younger clones, they're gonna last a little longer because they weren't fully grown already at that point. You know what I mean? So we're probably gonna see them again, and Omega and stuff like that. So maybe they're trying to set up something else. But the plot of this whole thing, some crazy vines that are killing everybody. And we gotta go in here and get the stuff, and then we gotta get out. And the other clones wanted to leave and just leave them behind, and it added absolutely nothing to whatever this season is supposed to be about. There wasn't even character development. There was no character development for Hunter and Wrecker in this at all. It was just the same old. Like, here's another side quest. You know, when you play the video games that have trillion side quests, and finally, and you go down the rabbit hole of side quests, you realize, okay, I need to stop with these side quests because they are not advancing me in the game at all. I'm not getting no story done here. And this is what's going on with this episode. And unfortunately, out of the 16 episodes, we're going to get at least 8 to 10 of these. And this was the first one.
Only 10 more to go. All right, Papa Memes, what did you think about this beloved episode?
Well, the thing is with side quests in video games is you don't have to play them to progress the story. I just replayed Grand Theft Auto, and
you don't have to watch this.
Virtually any of the side quests. However, unfortunately, due to my presence of being an employee on the Chatooine show, I was forced to watch episode 2 of season 3 of the Bad Batch.
Unpaid employee, by the way.
Unpaid, and what am I supposed to say about this? The Empire is making vines that attack things, and then it got out of hand, and then they just fucking leave them there?
It's the Flood. It's the Flood from Halo. You remember Halo? I remember.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And then these fucking kids who are annoying. And
fuck them kids.
Hey, don't you put out Daniel Logan like that. That's my boy.
Look, Daniel Logan, I'm sure he's a cool guy in real life, all right? And he's just here to do a job, but I mean, I feel I want to add some substance and some depth to this conversation when it comes to episode 2, but I'm sorry, I have nothing. What more am I supposed to say?
Episode 3 is really the only one. Well,
this is the pinnacle and like such a perfect reason as to why Star Wars shows are they just fall short so many ways. It's because of things like this. It's frustrating, but it's not even to the point where it's like anger. It doesn't anger me anymore. I just don't care anymore. I've seen this time and time again with The Mandalorian, with all sorts of other shows, and now with the cartoons, and with Bad Batch. I'm just tired of it. Give me a story. Give me proper substance. Give me proper mechanical storytelling that flows, right? That's all I want. That's all I want with Star Wars, and I've yet to get that.
Well, you got it with Andor. Don't you ever insult Tony?
Andor! Have we talked about Andor today? Because I'd love to talk about Andor.
Oh, God, I'll go right to bed.
Yeah.
fucking masterpiece of a show. Good lord.
Which is so
Anyways.
interesting because we're all such big fans of it and everything. But I got into it after.
So now I'm angry. I wasn't angry before. Now I'm angry. You do
Yeah,
not disrespect Andor like that.
Do you miss it, Peppa memes? Here's Goldman in the chat.
Doom
Doom and gloom, Peppa memes.
Being objective, being reasonable, having mediocre standards is doom and gloom now. That's where we're at as Star Wars fans. Thank you, everyone.
I think he's on the wrong channel. We know where Peppa memes belongs. He doesn't belong on this channel.
What is
Did
Stewie
you
doing
like
now with Mauler?
episode 2
Star Drift
at
or
least
whatever?
more than we did? Yeah, forget Mauler, but Seth, did you like this recent episode more, the second episode, more than at least the three of us did?
So it wasn't my favorite out of the three, right? And if we would have got this by itself and had to wait a whole week for another one, I probably would have been a little bit more grumpier with it. But I mean, it was okay, but it did push the plot, and I would argue there was a little bit of character development in there. So like we got a few things from it. Now it definitely was filler, but it was filler that gave us some details that we kind of needed to know. So like one thing we got out of it, Echo and Rex, they're 2 rotations away, so they're on some mission doing something. So we'll get that mission later, right? Then when Hunter got the location, he wanted to go, and Wrecker was like, no, remember last time we went, what happened? And when he did that, I was like, oh shit. Like usually Wrecker's like, boom, let's go. So it kind of shows that Wrecker grew a little bit there because he's not the same crazy guy that he was. Now, when they got to the planet, it was kind of cool seeing those young clones, those young regs, because like I never thought that there were any little size clones out in the galaxy. So that was kind of interesting to me from the aspect of like, is there more and where are the rest of them? Because he said that they took us off Camino and they put us in prison here and we escaped. So like, did the rest of them die? Did the rest of them get away? So that was kind of interesting to me. Plus, I love Daniel Logan. He voiced Mox. That's my guy. So that was cool hearing Daniel Logan. But the Vine stuff was like, I just kind of like ignore that. That was boring. Like we didn't need that. And then when they got into the thing, it kind of felt like a Fallen Order video game level where they're in like breaking in and like avoiding this and jumping on that. So that was like whatever. And then they got the location of where he moved the stuff, but it's not the exact location. It's the the region or the galaxy, wherever that is near. So they have that little bit of info. So we kind of got that like for the plot, knowing that, okay, Hunter and Wrecker are going to go at least to like the area where this planet is, not knowing that Omega escaped. But it still was not like my favorite out of the three. But it wasn't like, it could have been worse. It could have been like Mando season 2, ice spiders that did nothing at all. And you could delete that episode with the frog lady.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a cute little reunion. Her and her husband in the following episode.
I thought there was more
the
heart
sweater
in
guy.
that than there was in most of Bad Batch. So, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was actual
Our
love.
bar.
I don't know.
Our bar is
How-
so low. This
I
is
mean,
sad.
I've said that
Listen,
for years.
sad.
I've told
didn't
you for
say.
years that people, accept shit in the fandom.
When I say there was more heart in that than it was in Bad Batch, it's like giving me 2 piles of shit, okay, and one's horse shit, one's dog shit, and you ask me which one smells worse, and you're like, well, dog shit isn't as bad as the horse shit. Yeah, that's
Maybe
it's
we
fun-
should just
it's
walk
funny you
away
brought
from
that
this
up.
shit. Maybe we don't need
No.
to be around it.
It's funny you bring that up though,
Anyways.
Lunga, because someone I saw a poll and was like, "What do you like more, Rebels or Bad Batch?" And I was like, "Oh God, I've never thought about that because I vehemently
If you
don't like
hold
either
on,
of them.
this should not be a competition.
it's Rebels. It's Rebels.
love
Rebels
Rebels.
has proper development and a proper story
Yeah.
arc that is
Yeah.
pretty continuous. That this
Just
is,
about anything that involves Kanan was great.
is
I'm sorry.
not-
Oh my
Yeah.
God, get out of here! Yeah, at least the animation in Bad Batch isn't fucking piss poor and looks like it went back.
You're gonna
10 years.
you're gonna bring that in as a comparison because
You
think
guys like the
animation
2003
is
Clone
better?
Wars, which was garbage animation.
It
What
was
kind of
Samurai
reason is
Jack
that only?
animation. That stuff has like a
Garbage.
style to it. It has like
Yeah,
unique
but the animation
feel,
looks
aesthetic.
better. So
Yeah, you know what the style is? I remember that when I was 5 years old, and it was cool back then, and I still think it's cool when I'm 20 something.
Yeah, no, is it just me or am I actually tired of this style? Like seeing things like even like Forces of Destiny or the Galaxy is it Galaxy of the Heroes or whatever. What was it? The YouTube thing they did.
Forces of Destiny. It was
No,
the
there was Forces
female
of Destiny,
characters.
and then there was that, but then there was the other one. The chat helped me out. It
Arcane.
was a
I
2D
don't think
animation.
anybody watched it. I don't
No,
know
we
what
got
you're
millions of
talking
views on
about.
YouTube. It was like these little
Oh,
short
on YouTube? I don't
animations
know.
and stuff. Yeah, of Star Wars. Anyways,
Yeah, but it's kind of
Cool.
that cell shading stuff. Arcane did this. Arcane did a similar thing, and the story was great.
Yeah.
but
I'm
I
just saying,
don't
I'm
that
tired of this same
style.
animation style.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just,
similar one.
let's switch it up a bit.
Well, let's switch it up to episode 3 so we can get out of this damned Bad Batch
This is
conversation.
gonna be the fastest segment.
So season 3, episode 3 was Shadows of Tantus. It's that mountain that they're doing all these experiments on and everything. And the description is Omega and Crosshair hatch a daring plan. Sith, start us out. What did you think of the 3rd episode of this little 3 arc that they did?
I am a sucker for Palpatine, especially when it's Ian McDermott. So I loved all that stuff with the Emperor. I want to know what's in those damn tubes in that area. That stuff is just so interesting to me. Even though like it could be leaning towards the sequels, it might not. I mean, who knows? Who knows what they're doing with it? But that stuff has me intrigued, right? And then like, Crosshair and Omega, they escape. I mean, it was kind of easy, yeah, but like Nala Se kind of had a plan and she knew it was the right time. It's a little wild that they did all that while Palps is just running around the facility chilling, but it was very intriguing, and how it ended, I could already tell that, the way he was like, "Oh, I have all the money and power from the Empire at my disposal." He for sure is the one that's going to be sending all these bounty hunters after Omega that we saw in the trailer. So I think it's just going to get buck wild from here, but I really hope we get to see what's in those tubes and all that stuff with the cloning stuff.
That's always my fear with Lucasfilm and some of these shows is like with the everything about that project that they're working on. I'm so interested in, but
Yeah.
if they don't show it, it's like, damn, what are we doing? Like I have
Blue
to see it.
balls.
Yeah, don't blue ball me here. Papa Memes, what did you think of this 3rd episode?
Well, obviously the main sort of plot points they were wanting to bring forth is what you guys were just talking about, the whole cloning stuff, the M counts and stuff. And I just want to bring up a point of like, I've seen a lot of people online and just people discussing in general, like, oh guys, see, look, they're connecting to the sequels, they're gonna fix the sequels and stuff. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, guys, let's look back to the past 4 years, right? They've been doing all this sequel work for 4 years, and we've gotten the same amount of information as we did 4 years ago. They're doing cloning experiments, trying to make force sensitive clones using force sensitive blood. That is the same amount of information we have gotten for years. And so I don't know why everyone's all flipping out saying, oh, that's going to fix Rise of Skywalker and it's going to explain Palpatine's return and stuff. It's like, no. It explained Moff Gideon's goals with it, which was ridiculous in of itself. But other than that, we've gotten zero information despite having all these episodes and all these connections and all these plot points that it's like, oh, they're doing cloning experiments. Can't wait to learn about them. And we never do. It's the same thing here. It's the same stuff over and over again. And the episode definitely was enjoyable on an action level. It was definitely didn't make any sense at all how they could even escape that when the literal leader of the Empire is at the presence. You would think they would have more security around their base, but
Well, they did. You don't need logic. She literally said, "What's up with all these extra troops around the base and everything?"
Outside.
Like, I don't know. Yeah, but they still got out with all the extra troops. Yeah,
all right. And they all dropped off on the ship, and then there was like 6 people, and they took them out, and they got on the ship and exited and left because logic. But no, I mean the episode was on par with episode 1. I'd say episode 1 was more enjoyable, but just because I like the tone more and I like the pacing more in episode 1. But I just want to bring that point out about the whole like mid-M count stuff. It's like, guys, this is the same stuff we've seen over and over again. It's nothing different. And that's what's so frustrating with me is there is the potential and opportunity to do something interesting with this, but yet they're not going to do that. And that's what's so frustrating.
All right, Lunga, I know you are a Emperor Palpatine fan. Did you like this
Yes.
episode?
Yes, I did. I got to push back on Palpatine memes here. My friend, you are incorrect. And I can't believe I got to be the guy that defends something that could help make the sequels more palatable. but that is exactly what they're doing. It's not always
I
about
never said
information.
that's not what they weren't. I
It's-
said they haven't
it's-
actually connected it
it's-
properly. They haven't given
and
us
I'm
any
getting
depth to it.
and I'm getting there. It isn't about more information. It's about the threads that are leading towards it and the drama around it and the feeling around it, right? We just the one famous line, somehow Palpatine returned, right? Right? Okay.
Somehow.
This is not showing somehow. This is showing literally the year after Order 66, he started this. It's not somehow. This was 20 plus, if you go all the way to sequels, 35, whatever years in the making. Okay. So it wasn't somehow he returned. It was because that's what they could like. What do you mean somehow? He just,
It's a
bam, it just
contingency
happened.
Plan, yeah.
They're showing it. Well, it's not a contingency plan. It's the most important plan for the future of the
Yeah.
Empire for Palpatine. It's not a contingency plan. It is the plan. Meaning, and it shows us some depth too, right? Remember Vader. Remember how Apprentice. Remember how Palpatine treated Maul. Remember how he treated Dooku. Vader. He is unlike all the other Sith. Even though he subscribes to the Rule 2. Does not believe in the Rule 2. It is going to be him. And every apprentice is disposable, and he's going to replace them because he's not going to let them get strong enough to take them over from him like he did to Plagueis. Okay? It is about that. This is showing how disposable and just much of a tool Vader is to him. That there is no plans of him ever succeeding him. That this is what has to happen. And that is big. Sequel, like not or not, just when you talk about the retirement of the original trilogy and everything, the dichotomy between them two, we've seen it in comic books and other places, but in the Vader comics especially, you're seeing that here. And we're supposed to get Vader in this too. So Vader might find out here. We might see some of that stuff we see in the comic books where Vader's upset about, Palpatine basically puppeteering him, and not letting him, do what he wants to do. That's important. I think that's a big deal. And what's in the tanks, Sith, we know. These are the first Snokes, if you will, right? This is what's happening. And from what it sounds like to me, now where they're getting the blood from, it's not Omega, obviously, because they keep hiding her blood. So I'm not. I think maybe they're taking samples of Palpatine's blood because that's why they need that Hemlock. Hemlock. I love Hemlock, by the way. He keeps saying how it has to match or exceed the M count, which means it has to be at Palp's level. It has to be at Palp's level because he's not going to be in a weaker body. Right? It has to be. So the only force sensitives he has are him and Vader, right? As far as he knows, because all the Jedi are dead and they're still hunting him, but they don't have anyone. So it has to be his blood that they're using. And all the clones, when you saw the guy on the table when they were testing him, they're injecting all these clones. They're using the clones as test subjects.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why, and that's another thing, why they became expendable. We're like, well, why they're such good soldiers? Why would you why would you make them expendable and just use conscripted soldiers? Because we need them for this. This is what they're for. They're lab rats. We need to create a body that I can put my essence in. And it could be a strong clone trooper body that's not just strong be strong on my M count, but it'll be in the force, but it'll be strong of body as well. Okay? So all those tanks are a bunch of clones that have been injected with different things, and they're cultivating them, whatever, trying to get their M counts up and see what happens. And I think because it's not natural, that's how you get these mutated versions of Snoke. So we're probably going to learn that Snoke is a Jango Fett clone.
Oh man, that would be weird. I don't
Let me,
know. I
respond
like
to
what
that
he's
real
saying
quick.
though. Yeah.
Well,
go
I
ahead.
want to respond.
Project
to that.
Necromancer? That is a cool ass name, by the way.
Well, and they also mentioned that in Mandalorian, I think season 3, when
Yeah,
they had that secret council.
The Shadow
Yeah,
Council.
they mentioned it. The
Yeah.
Shadow Council. Thank you. They mentioned that. So, like Lunga was saying, I do like the idea that they've been building this for a very long time, and Palpatine has been building it. Palpamemes, go ahead with what you're going to respond with.
I just want to clarify. I never said that they weren't building up to this. I never said that wasn't a thing. What I was saying is we're seeing the same things that we've seen even in things like The Mandalorian all the way up to season 3, where Moff Gideon now has clones, right?
Yeah, but let me ask you a question then. What new thing would you like to see? That's what it is. It's the cloning, right? What
Answers,
new thing?
Depth, information.
This is
They
the
don't give
depth.
it.
That's what I
It's
just
all
pointed out.
vague.
Was the depth?
You
no,
interpreted.
he's right though,
You wrote the
Lunga.
whole story for them. There's no actual information.
Yeah, Lunga, he's got a point because this is like he's saying, like me and Sith were saying, we want to see what's in the tanks. And here's the
Yeah.
thing: maybe they will show us that.
They
But
are.
that's the problem.
But,
Is
They
that
are.
but
none of it-
problem
no, no,
is
no, no,
we've been saying
maybe.
that for years. Maybe they'll show us. Maybe we'll figure it out. Oh, we did get an answer. Oh, it's Moff
Maybe
Gideon
they've been
making
showing us
clones
for
of himself.
years because it was supposed to be shown here, and they weren't going to show it anywhere else. I mean, does that?
Well, and
Cross the mind?
that is hang on, that is a big point that I wanted to bring up. Is do you guys think they did the entire Bad Batch series just to kind of explain Palpatine's return in the sequels? Because they
Yeah,
made Rogue
I said
One
that season
to
one.
fill that void of and as time goes on, like when you really think about what we're taking away from the Bad Batch, it's not the story about Omega and then the Clone Force 99 and they're all out there living their lives and adventures. What we're interested in is what is the purpose of Omega? Why did they
Yeah.
make a girl
Right, and
clone and
so-
everything?
That's why I push back.
That's
on,
what we don't
wouldn't it
know
be
yet.
Nice if we actually got those answers instead of wasting 3 seasons of nothing.
Well, but see,
Well,
that's
that's
thing,
the
too, is
problem with the
I
show.
can see both sides. I agree with you there because it has.
Right, and
been
I would argue that's
2
also a
seasons
problem
of
with The
nothing.
Mandalorian because The Mandalorian, in a way, not as much, is doing the same thing. And then we do get
The
an answer of,
Mandalorian's
it was
not meant
Moff
to do that.
Gideon.
That wasn't the point of Mandalorian. That wasn't the point of
The whole
Mandalorian.
point and
The
part
whole
of
It ties
them trying
in.
to get Grogu. Oh, hold on. The whole literal foundation is the Empire's after Grogu. For what reason? Because
No.
his blood has a
Blood.
high M
That
count.
no, that was the plot of season 1.
Right. That's the
And
foundation
that
of the
and not and it
Mandalorian.
wasn't the Empire. It was Moff Gideon. He was the only one after him.
Sure. Who is
It was
he
Moff
working
Gideon
for?
for his own personal deal, which we saw with the whole council they had with everybody. How he was off doing his own little thing because
Right,
he wanted to be a little
yeah,
warlord.
long live
Okay,
the Empire. He's doing this for the Empire.
his empire because he wants to be in control of it. Didn't you get all that?
He's-
That's why they ruined his character.
They ruined it. Yeah, they fucking did. But
Oh, they
Yeah.
absolutely did.
Yeah,
ruin
they
it.
wasted him.
But still, I do like seeing the beginning of this whole plan and contingency. But I do kind of have some sentiment with Palpamemes is that it is still for me at least the frustration is now we're getting to it. After 3 seasons, 32 episodes, on the 33rd one, you're like, let's start to explore this a little bit more. Even when they do explore it, yet again, it is kind of stuff that it's not like we already knew, but we kind of did know. And if it scratches the surface just a little bit, it's like, oh, we're trying to get the end count correct. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. You want the clone to have the same force abilities that Palpatine does and not less, and more would be even better, honestly. So I guess that does make sense. But what do these clones look like? Are these like the Snoke things? Are they the Moff Gideon crap? What's Baby Yoda have to do with some of this stuff later on? Like, does Palpatine even know about him? Like, it is one of those things where it's like I want the full picture, and I want it to be.
Yeah, I'm not saying they
Unfortunately,
come out
spelled
here
out
with
a
the whole
little more.
story on what they're going to do, their entire plan, and the entire episode is just them saying that. But I need more. I'm tired of these surface level
Yeah.
hints, and then that allows us to just interpret, which is all we can do right now is interpret and theorize. But that's not an actual concrete objective answer. And that's my
Right,
problem.
but we're in the bad. Okay, Palpatine. So here's the thing: we're in the Bad Batch, which is literally the first year of the Empire. This is 35 years before the sequels. You're not going to get you're going to get the genesis of everything. You're not going to get all
we
the
still
answers
don't
here.
have the answers 30
as
years
far
later
as-
with the Mandalorian.
Okay, because that's not going to be in the Bad Batch because it's 30 fucking years later. We're talking about
You
the Bad
see my
Batch right now,
problem
right?
Overall,
We're
though.
talking about
I'm
the Bad
talking the
Batch.
story as a
We're
whole.
not talking. Okay, fuck the story over as a whole because that's not what we're discussing right now. We're discussing the fucking Bad Batch, and you're upset with the Bad Batch isn't giving us answers. Well, how many fucking answers do you want from the first year of the Empire? It's only going to be the
Proper
genesis of
information
what's
is what I
happening.
want.
It's
Proper
okay. It's only
information.
going to. It is giving you proper information. This is okay. And I got to ask you this only and Sith as well because here's the thing. I mean, Sith seems to like it a little more than we do, but could it feel drawn out? Because there's 16 fucking episodes a season, which aren't necessary. Okay. If they made this a nice 8 to 10 episodes a season and a more concise story, it wouldn't feel as dragged out. Okay. That's the issue. And that's my biggest problem with the show is way too many episodes, way too many filler episodes that don't lend anything to the story. And it just, and I find myself enjoying 1 out of every 3 or 4 episodes. You never know which episode's going to be the one that's important. So you got to fucking watch them all. Okay,
Yeah.
which is done on purpose, obviously. So it feels dragged out because of that, and we got to remember this is 3 seasons, right? It hasn't even passed the first year or so. I don't have an exact timeline, but it's definitely still within the first year of the Empire. Okay,
Sure.
At least
And-
the first two.
right, and it's the genesis of his program. Okay, there aren't going to be that much answer in this show. If you want to complain about Lucasfilm not telling us everything and what they did in The Mandalorian, sure, but that's not about this show. This show is giving us the genesis of Project Necromancer. And
If
it did
that's the
so
point of
far,
the
it's
show-
done that successfully.
Well, if that's the point of the show, then yes, it is a problem that 95 to 97% of the show is not relative to that. And I'm
Yes,
sure
and that's my
what we can
that's
agree
my
on.
biggest criticism of the show is
Right,
there's way too many
right.
episodes and too much
Right.
filler. If they would have
So I
made it
guess
much
to
more
recap
concise,
and to kind of reconcile with everything, my main issue is, yeah, you can talk specifically in this show, and I agree with your points. You bring up very good points with that. It's the fact that we have been doing this for, let's say, 4 years now through various shows on Disney Plus, and yet we've gotten little to no answers or information. And so I
And
guess
that
I
can be
understand.
annoying.
No, it's just wrong.
Well,
It's
I
not
mean,
yeah.
proper.
I understand what they're
Obi-Wan
trying
had
to
nothing
do,
to do
but
with this. Okay, Obi-Wan had nothing to do
Where
with
did
this.
Obi-Wan come from this?
You said multiple shows. I'm talking about the
I
shows
said various
that
Disney Plus shows,
and
which is
I'm
multiple seasons of
talking about
Mandalorian.
and I'm talking about them various shows. Okay, the only shows that have dealt with this subject are Mandalorian and Bad Batch. That's it. Boba Fett didn't even have nothing to do with it.
That is
So
six
stop
seasons of Disney
saying
Plus
various shows. It's 2 shows. It's Bad Batch and
That's
Mandalorian.
various
two-
shows. That is
But 2
six
shows
seasons.
with like 6 seasons, yeah, that's a
That is
lot
a
of.
lot.
And not only that, these are shows that are like new, like Mandalorian, new characters, Bad Batch, new characters that Disney's kind of building into, and then leading up to the Palpatine thing. Like, I can't understand wanting for a little bit more clarity and answers at the moment, especially after starting this journey back in 2019. And we're still kind of standing here with our dick in our hand going, well, so what the fuck was Snoke? Because I still, to this day, could not truly explain to you what Snoke is. But
No one
before we-
knows.
exactly.
Say-
The real
let
Snoke
us
was
know,
the
'cause we
friend
haven't
who
heard
made
from
along
you.
the ways.
On this, because we got kind of heated on this topic. What do you think? Because you're
It's a
probably
very
looking at it from a little
personal
different than the rest of us.
conversation, Because it connects to the
Well, he
sequels.
needs
Yeah,
to
so
be
are you
into the
happy-
personal conversation.
Seth, are you happy with how they have explained the Palpatine return thing in
Oh,
Bad Batch
no.
and Mandalorian so far?
Who is? No, nobody's happy with that. Like, that's clear as day. But with Bad Batch, like, there's still 12 episodes left. So hopefully we get a little bit more. And then if we don't, then it's kind of like, okay, we could get back into this argument. But like, what if in the next 12 episodes, there's little to no filler and like we get the answers that we want? That'd be a miracle. But
Oh,
We've
well,
been
yeah,
saying this
miracle.
for 5 years now.
I know.
Well, it
yeah.
doesn't even have to be
What
little
if?
to no filler. We could get, I mean, if we get a good solid 4, 5 more episodes that have to deal with this subject and this storyline and give us some kind of arc to the Genesis, because that's all, again,
Yeah.
it's just the Genesis. The rest, like I said, it's if you add them up, what, we had 3, so there's 13 episodes left. Okay, we get 4 episodes that have to deal with this that are solid.
12 episodes left. It's 15 episodes this season.
12 episodes left. Okay, so if we get 4,
15,
that's
oh.
8 episodes of fucking filler, right? Which is just about right around the bell curve with the show. So it's,
Could you imagine doing a Chatooine show every week for the Bad Batch?
I planned this very particularly because I knew that was not going to happen. Hey, super chat,
Oh,
thank you,
nice,
Benjamin,
nice.
my homie. He didn't even say anything. Come on, man.
yeah, I
Well,
didn't type
shout out
anything.
to you, Benjamin.
Send a message. We'll put it up on screen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Ben's
Benjamin,
cool. I've known him
supporting the
for a
show.
good minute now. He's a good guy.
Well, let's
No,
switch gears.
I agree with a lot of the things you're saying. You bring up very, very valid points. I just wanted to kind of give my point on, I guess, overall why I'm so frustrated with this. But you do bring up good points.
It's all fucking frustrating. It's Lucasfilm.
It is At the end of the day, we're all starving for something good.
And
So when
that's
some
the
people start
issue.
starving, they get mad at each other.
But
Well,
Palpatine memes,
I think it's
the
just
only
my
reason I push
satisfaction.
back, on you Palpatine memes is because, and I understand the frustration. I'm a Star Wars fan with you, okay? And we've talked about this on the show and in our chats and stuff. There's a big frustration with Lucasfilm, okay? With it's like, Jesus Christ, give us something, okay? There is that frustration, we know. And every time you kind of get bogged down in these minute issues of individual episodes of individual shows not giving you enough, and it always bleeds into the bigger problem of Lucasfilm, which yes is there.
Well,
but we need to
all add
talk
up, then...
right. But we need to talk about this show as it is. We need to talk about these 3 episodes.
And let me do
You're
that
also
real quick
talking about
then.
a show that you have not watched the second season of.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there's no
Okay.
answers there either. But as you said, these are your hold on a second. These are your words. If you said that, you said from the beginning, this show's original purpose was to show Palpatine's plan, right? If that is the purpose of the show, but the show is not able to actually fulfill that properly and have depth to that, then the show's existence is pointless. And that's wrong.
But here's the thing: you saying it's not fulfilling it is just as speculative as me saying it probably will. So again, we're back in speculation there. So
we don't know.
You
until
can't say that it
fully
hasn't.
wraps up. But
Right.
it
Based
is
on history, on the way
frustrating
this
for
whole
taking
idea's
too
been
long.
going, I
Which
would
goes
be
back to the
suggesting-
bigger problem with Lucasfilm, which is your doom and gloom that Goldman
but
always
is
says.
that's very valid to bring up. Is well, we've been seeing this for 5 years now, and nothing has changed. That's my problem, and I would put money that it's going to be the same thing with this season. And then we're going to look back at the Badge Batch and we're going to
All
ask,
right, we got
what was
money.
the point?
You got money? You got money to bet?
I got my wallet's not on me. I got about $200.
Fuck the wallet. Pull out the porg.
Don't go that
I
far.
want you to bet that.
20 bucks. Yeah, the porg. I want the porg.
I'll DoorDash you whatever restaurant you want.
I want the porg. I want the porg.
That's enough.
That thing cost me like $50, sir, and shipping, and it took like 3 months to ship. I'm not even. And I'm just buying from Amazon.
Sounds a lot less than 200, sweetheart. All right, put the
Anyway,
porg
no.
on the line.
Let's bet a $20 gift card to a restaurant anywhere, whatever.
No.
What's you're
Star Wars only. You have to.
the Chatooine merchandise store.
You have to moderate this though. I say now we can't say to our liking. Did it fulfill it to our liking? Because that's very subjective, right? But you said they're not gonna give us any answers to this project that he in the genesis of it. I say at the end of the season we're gonna see what's in those tanks. We're gonna see what his the genesis of this plan is. Okay, you're saying they're not gonna do that. Am I correct?
I didn't say they wouldn't show the tanks. I didn't say we wouldn't get any answers. But I guess, and again, it comes down to subjectivity. You can't quantify what depth is, and so
Yeah, this is hard to bet on. Then we
work.
can't do it.
Yeah.
I was about to say I'll happily be the one.
Because I will agree with you. We will probably see those tanks. We will probably get Palpatine say something like,
Yeah.
The fuck if I know. I don't know.
Well, and that tells me
The
for
plan
this
is
show
ready
in the
for
first
my
year
body
of
to
the
be
Empire,
transferred. When Vader throws me down a
successfully,
cliff.
if that happens, it successfully shows us genesis of the project. It's not going to give us answers
That is true.
that from 20 years from now because it's here.
Hopefully the Mando movie does then. No.
Let's move on to our Mandalorian video game topic and everything. But quickly, let's all rate the first 3 episodes, not individually, but as a whole, because I feel like when they released this 3, it was very intentional. This was a clear arc that they wanted to complete for the beginning of the series to keep us interested in the rest of the season. So, Sith, start us out 1 to 10. How would you rate this first arc?
Overall, for all 3, probably like 7.5, 8-ish for all 3. Because like the third one I'd have higher, the first one decent, and then the second one lower. So like the average, like 7.5, 8-ish, I'd say.
I feel like that's fair. Palp memes, what would you rate this?
Probably a 2.5 or a 3. It didn't break anything,
Jesus
therefore it doesn't get
Christ.
under 2. Oh, I'm being dead.
Oh my
I am being
God.
dead
Even with
serious.
that first
Not-
episode?
Horrible.
Not a single one of you motherfuckers are gonna go back and watch these 3 episodes. Not a single.
I don't
one.
go back and watch.
I
I don't
watched
go
it
back and
twice.
watch anything.
I watched it twice in a 24-hour time frame. I'm gonna love
You're
watching the
insane.
Emperor say anything.
There's nothing to
Well,
these. I give them. a
I
3.
haven't watched
They
the
didn't
first
break
season of
any-
The Mandalorian again.
They didn't break anything,
That's insane.
but they didn't give me anything.
What do you want them to do? Break new ground on every freaking episode? I mean,
I said they didn't break anything. They didn't
What do you
destroy
want them to-
established
what
stories.
do you want them to break? Is there
Yet,
a feeling that
The
Omega's
story
got
they
a
are
strong
giving
group?
us has no substance. There's nothing to it virtually. It doesn't destroy things. I'm going to say like, oh, The Last Jedi broke this established story. Sure. This isn't doing that yet. It doesn't have substance. And I can't give it more than 3 for a story that doesn't have substance, let alone a story that could have substance and have some interesting storyline going on. Yeah, we're not given that. So I stick with 3.
Omega is becoming a young woman. She has a bun
Look, man,
now,
she's got high school
ponytail.
prom coming up. You know, the Wrecker and Hunter got to go find her address and find her a boyfriend to take on a date. There you go. That's a more
Yeah,
interesting
well,
story
hey.
than what we're
dates.
getting.
All right.
I mean,
Lunga, give us a score.
Emery's pretty good looking. That's all I gotta say. Emery's pretty good looking. I'm not even gonna link it to Omega because that feels fucking weird.
It is weird. It would be weird, but
yeah. Okay, if we actually go with doing math and doing the averages, the first episode I would say is a 7.5. Third episode is an 8. Second episode is a fucking 2. And that 2 unfortunately brings down the entire average to just under 6, 5.8. So I would just say 6
8 is
for the 3.
Oh, come on. Hey, no, I feel like
How was
with
8 insane?
the third
Eight is
episode,
like-
that
For the
one
first
is an
episode?
8. That is
Or
a
the third
solid-
episode?
Was it the first or third? I
The
think
third.
was 8.
The third.
He
The
said
third.
the third episode
That's-
is an 8. I would agree with that.
I mean, to each their own, man. 8 for
Again,
me is like Luke Skywalker in
we
the
had- we
Mandalorian
had-
season 2. That's
we
an 8
had
out of 10.
we had the escape, which was necessary, okay, and we saw that,
Sure.
you know, because we're focusing on Palpatine and everything, obviously. But we had the escape. We had to see how they got out and everything. I knew that fucking dog. The moment she let that dog out, I knew they were going to run into it. It was going to save him. I knew it.
I was like,
Classic any cartoon. Doesn't have to be Star Wars. I'm like, okay, this dog is going to come back again. So they had to have the escape, which I think was done pretty well. I liked how they did it. I liked the whole Emery thing. You know, what they did with it. I liked it. And then when you had the Palpatine stuff, come on, man, that shit was good. And when you got there, just
Palpatine
visually,
stuff was
when they go in
gold.
that room. When they go in that room and it's all that slick black and the red
Oh my
glow,
God,
it
yes.
Very Sith.
It was like-
yeah, it looked
like
cool.
Sith said, I just wanted to be in that room. You know, like I was like, yo,
yeah.
Oh,
Y'all
Chop
remember
on
the
the leg,
Hemlock-
get in
throne
that
room? Y'all remember
I
the throne room in the
love-
Last Jedi? How
Okay,
great
no,
that looked?
you're not
Oh,
gonna
I'm
bring up the
going. I'm
member
going
berries.
there.
You're not gonna bring up the member berries. It's not a member berries thing. There's no throne in
No,
that room.
Hold on a second. Let me.
You remember?
Don't
You
straw
remember?
man. I'm not bringing up a member berry. I'm comparing it to that. Look how cool this room looks. Let's talk about the depth. Let's talk about the story. Let's talk about the
Oh,
mechanics.
get out of here with your film journalist.
Fucking
freaking
necessary.
scholar.
When
It-
we're
it
raised,
is-
You
It's a
can't
show
compare
we're
fucking
raised
Andor
story.
to the fucking Bad Batch. Okay,
Oh, but
they're
I
at
will.
completely
But I
different
will,
levels.
Lunga. I
They're
absolutely
completely
will.
different
There's
levels.
nothing you can do to stop me. There's nothing you
Well,
can do
you
to
know,
stop me.
That
know,
is very true.
You know,
That is very true.
if they had Quentin Tarantino direct The Kids Next Door, it could have been a way better children's show. I think it would have had more depth. It would have had more feeling. You know, for
Maybe they
a
should have
cartoon
brought
like
him
Kids
aboard.
Next Door.
They,
you know.
they would have talked about how number one has
Star Wars
cancer, and that's why he's
deserves to
bald.
be good. All right, I'm not gonna sit here and say, "Well, it's a cartoon, so my standards are low." Nuh-uh. No,
Are
I
you
see
trying
what
to
they
tell
can
us
do.
No,
you're
it's
trying
not
to make Star Wars
standards.
great again?
It's judge. No, it's realizing the medium it's in and realizing who the target is. They're trying to get everyone with Bad Batch, right? But it's still, let's be honest, it still leans more towards kids. Okay, it does. So
Would you say
you know,
Avatar: The Last Airbender is catered towards kids?
well, you can't do that
phenomenal
because
fucking
anime.
show. That's a
You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't compare anime to
Absolutely,
Western.
I can do that.
You-
No,
no, you
don't
can't.
let him pull
You
you, into
can't.
these side tangents.
No.
We gotta move on.
No,
Samurai
no.
Jack.
Moving on.
No. I'm
I'm-
not going to do this with you again.
Fair
All right,
enough.
we're moving on to the Mandalorian game that was announced by Respawn. And I'm going to read the article real quick, so I do apologize. This comes from Insider Gaming. It says Insider Gaming sources have revealed that Respawn Entertainment is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game that is in the early stages of development. According to sources, the game will see the player can control of the Mandalorian bounty hunter, which it is unclear who that Mandalorian bounty hunter is going to be, and that it's your job to capture bounties, dead or alive, for cash rewards during the time that the Galactic Empire is dominating across the galaxy. The game's high mobility has been made possible storytelling-wise thanks to the Mandalorian's jetpack, which allows the player to perform horizontal dashing, vertical jumping, boost sliding. The Insider Gaming says think of like Apex Legends. Sources describe the game as very fast-paced and will reward players who play in this style. For example, the player's health will mainly regenerate based on successive kills. As to be expected, playing as a Mandalorian bounty hunter gives a player a wide variety of weapons and gadgets, including wrist rockets, grapple hook, a visor for tagging enemies and bounties, and more. It's understood that the game will not be an open-world Star Wars game, and it's going to have linear levels taking place on a variety of different planets on the Star Wars universe. While it's unclear when the game will be released, it is said that it's a year or two away at the very least. It's currently unclear if the game will have a multiplayer experience or not. So, Sith, I don't really know, how you feel, but the video game world of Star Wars, because I'm a gamer, but I'm not like a diehard gamer with active games. Palp Memes is really big into the Star Wars games when it comes to like the Battlefront 2, and Lunga doesn't give a fuck about video games, and neither does Goldman. So, start us out as are you a big gamer? And what was your reaction to this news of a Mandalorian Star Wars game by Respawn?
So yeah, I do play a lot of games. I also have a gaming channel, Hyrule Sith, where I play a lot of video games on there. But I don't know why they didn't do this in 2019 when Mando came out. Like, this seems like a home run. People would love this game. It'd be so much fun. They should be giving us stuff like this more often. Like, for Star Wars video games in specifically, like, we're so hungry and we barely get anything. And then they'll kind of just report and remaster older games, but not give us like nice, newer, shiny games. Like Fallen Order, I loved. Survivor was fun, but like give us more stuff like that, especially with like the customization and stuff like that. So like if this Mando game is like Fallen Order, how you could customize everything, upgrade your armor, upgrade your jetpack, this game is gonna be a lot of fun. Like it should have came out so long ago, man.
I'm actually, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of happy with the timeline of it releasing now.
Yeah.
I feel like the Mandalorian
movie,
movie is
yeah.
is such a hard conversation to
Oh.
have. I kind of almost want to talk about that next week, the season 4 stuff and the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and the whole budget news. But I think in terms of marketing, they should do what they did with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi again, where they released Battlefront 1 and 2 right before those movies. If they released this game when the movie for Mandalorian and Grogu comes out,
Crazy hype.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would really add to it. But then again,
It
like
would.
if it's not Din Djarin, how much would it really help? You know, like because
I don't think it'll be Din. I think it'll be a new character that you get to play and make your own. And maybe there'll be options to make it look like Din, but I don't think it'll be like Din Djarin. I think it'll just be a Mandalorian doing missions.
We had
Well,
this
I don't
argument, and
think
I was
it
on the
will be
wrong
because
side of
it's
it.
What'd you say,
In our Discord, me and Peltmeans had this argument. I was on the wrong side of it. I was like slamming him, like it's obviously going to be Din. It's going Din inspired. It's going to be Din. And then when we read it again, and I'm like, oh no, it's set during the Empire. Oh yeah, no, it's not
yeah.
Din.
Yeah.
Well, if you even read the
Grievous
thing, it
Reborn.
does say that you have a jetpack, and he doesn't have a jetpack until season 2. Big shout out to Grievous Reborn. Thank you very much for the super chat. Did that come with a comment that I can highlight?
Yeah, I said, hope we can customize a damn character. The last Star Wars game that let the character customize a character was SWTOR, which released almost 13 years ago. That's a good point. And I've been saying that for, and people, like to throw out the word sexism and stuff when I say that Star Wars Outlaws should be you should allow to make your own character, whether it's a male, female, or an alien
Or
species.
droid, yeah.
But I've been saying this, and I have receipts of this from literally since Jedi Fallen Order was announced. I've been saying you should be able to customize your own character. But I fully agree. I'm looking forward to that aspect of it.
Yeah, when I do game,
like you do.
that's what because especially when I play MMOs or and stuff like that, I like the whole making a character. Even Baldur's Gate, like you have the standard characters.
Yeah,
no, I had to make my own character. I had to look the way I wanted to look and be who I wanted it to be. I didn't want to pay one of the legacy characters. I wanted to make my own.
I do
and
think
live.
that will add to the success of this game is if you do really get to create your own Mandalorian armor and everything like that. Like that's Mandalorians are such a big deal. Yeah, they've the Mandalorian culture, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the species has really gone through a renaissance with Star Wars since the Mandalorian series came out because now it's not just something that we diehard fans know about and Star Wars fans know about. Everyone knows who Mandalorians are. Everyone wants to be a Mandalorian. The armor is so appealing, and it all started with Boba Fett back in 1980.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see this game kind of expand upon that if we do get to truly customize our own armor and everything like that. So, Palpmemzo, you're a fan of EA Star Wars, you dirty bastard. And
Whoa!
I know.
Put words on my mouth, sir. All right, go ahead with your question.
I know you like Respawn Entertainment like myself because they are in charge of that Jedi series and everything. They've done really well. With them being attached to this and them having success with Apex Legends, doing that first-person shooter stuff, are you excited for this game being made by Respawn?
Yeah, the answer to that is yes, but I also want to kind of respond to Sith. I liked his point about, they should have been doing this for a while. Here's the deal. I don't know how up-to-date people here watching are. Like the movies and even shows, the Star Wars video games have suffered equally the same fate as the movies in the Lucasfilm. 1313 was going to be an underground bounty hunter game. We had a literal, basically this. It was literally a Mandalorian game. We didn't get as much information as we do now. That was being made by Microsoft and was going to be an Xbox exclusive, Xbox PC exclusive. So I just want to bring that up when Sith, you brought up, they should have done this a long time ago. I agree fundamentally, but here's the thing. They were going to do this. And so that's where my question is. It does say in the article, this is an early development. I have zero hopes that this is actually going to get released. It is by Respawn, so that gives me a little bit more. But considering the track record of Star Wars games under Lucasfilm, I'm not betting my odds on it too much. But the idea of the game itself, I guess, as a whole, from what we do know, if it goes the way I think it will go, is exciting. I think it being first person it's an interesting choice per se, especially if they are going to really hammer on the whole customization thing. I find that be an interesting choice. I would assume there's going to be an option though.
I think the reason they're doing the first person thing is because of the visor. I think they're gonna use
so I'm
that
thinking
as
like
a
Republic
mechanic to help.
Commando. Yeah, Republic Commando could be a huge inspiration for this. Now,
Bounty Hunters.
my thing is, I hope there's a really good story, and that's the point I really want to get into, which is where me and Lunga had a bit of a debate in private chat. Is I lost interest the second I saw set in the Empire era. I lost interest. I don't care what it's about. I am so tired of this era. Love the original trilogy. Love the prequels. Love how the prequels set up the original trilogy. We need to move on. When I saw Outlaws in the original trailer and it showed the Star Destroyer coming into frame and TIE fighters and stuff, I'm like, fucking again? Every time. And it's just like Star Wars is such a vast galaxy with so many unique eras. And that's something LucasArts did back in the day very well, is they explored such a variety amount of eras from post-Empire to Luke Skywalker's Academy with Jedi Academy where you made your own character to the Old Republic to prequel games like Obi-Wan, which takes place before The Phantom Menace. Such a large variety, and in the 10 years of Disney Star Wars, we've gotten, correct me if I'm wrong, we've only gotten Empire, haven't we? Am I missing any games that we've only gotten Empire? Sure, Battlefront 2 had the prequels and the sequels, but the story was Empire. And so that's where my interest falls short. It's set in the OT era, and I think it could do a great game of the Mandalorian set in the High Republic era. We know they're in there. In the prequel era, there could be a lot of good ideas with that. But it's too early for me to say whether this will be good or not, or has a chance of being good. But I'm intrigued, but wish it was a different era.
Well, I think we got to see a trailer first for me to like really judge the era and everything, because I understand that complaint that we're doing too much in the original trilogy. I've said this since God, like I would say even 2017, where I was like, please get out of this 19-year time frame between 3 and 4, because that's all they did for a long time. But I would argue that with some games, especially something like this, for some reason, having that feeling of seeing the stormtroopers and everything like that and going against them, there is something that immediately just makes it go, oh, that's Star Wars and everything. Or I feel like if they try to do it in a different era and everything like that,
trying to drag in normies, trying to just drag in video game.
I think
but here's the thing, like this comment, Benjamin says, why do you think SWTOR is so popular? For exactly this reason. It's set in a completely different era. SWTOR has always had a Game of Thrones kind of feel. It's like this ancient fantasy backstory and of it, and there's so much stuff that the galaxy was so different. They were still the same, right? You still had Sith, you still had Jedi, but the feel of the galaxy was so different than it was during our contemporary period.
Recognizable that it was Star Wars too, which I think is very important. And I think that's
because you had lightsabers and Sith and Jedi.
I want to say, I think you're overestimating how much stormtroopers have to the most general casual audience.
No. I know fans. That, but I think like you need something like, let's look at Star Wars Eclipse. Sith, you weren't around for this time, but we were all excited for Eclipse from the trailer alone. Like
that
I'm sure you
trailer looked freaking amazing. Like what? Yeah.
It's too bad it was made as a way to try and get people to come work for them. That's the sad part.
Yeah, I know
because it was prequels, right? It was in the prequels.
It was High Republic.
It was 500 years before the prequels.
So I think what you're saying is true, Palpamemes, that you don't need the normies to get into Star Wars by using stormtroopers. But I think when you look at something like Eclipse, that's the route you have to go to get everybody on board, where they can look at it and go,
that trailer has like as many views as the Star Wars show trailers, if I
Yeah,
remember
no,
correctly. And
the
that just
trailer was
shows
a big hit.
that. Yeah, 21 million. That's more than Ahsoka. That's how excited people were for this. So
Yeah.
I don't like the comparison of they're trying to get the casual audience. No, they don't. Star Wars is much more known than just stormtroopers or Luke Skywalker. No, people want more, and it's the proof
that's
is
what
in
Star
the.
Wars is, unfortunately.
No, it's
Like, I
no,
can
it's
show,
not. It's
I can
not,
show
though.
anyone in the world a picture of Mark Hamill, and they're gonna go Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I can
That
show
is
anyone a
ridiculous
picture
because
of
those
other
people
things,
who
it
would
wouldn't
only
work.
know Star Wars by Luke Skywalker are not the ones who are going to even be buying a game, whether it's set in the original trilogy era or an Old Republic era. That's a false equivalence, man. Like it's just neat. We need to move on. I mean,
He's got a point though. Stormtrooper helmets and clone trooper helmets are instantly recognizable. They people just you just show an image of that and
sure,
they know.
but Star Wars is more recognizable as a whole, and that's why we don't need stormtroopers. Again, Eclipse is the proof of that. That shit blew up. It was everywhere, and it's so heartbreaking
because it was a beautiful trailer. Because game,
And Yoda
okay,
was
but
in it
he's
too.
it's
Yes,
kind
but it
of
wasn't it.
we gotta like again, even though I like me not being a big gamer, right? The Star
Right.
Wars thing kind of threw me in, but when you for gamers themselves, depending on the type of game you are, but when they see a trailer that's that beautiful, okay, and that majestic, it draws people in. Okay, even if they're not instantly recognizable, and they see the name Star Wars, oh yeah, I know Star Wars, I remember Star Wars, and the trailer looks beautiful, like oh, this is something I'm going to want to try. You know what I mean? So that's it's just because
I
the
don't know.
presentation of it was so
I don't know if I can agree. Well,
grand.
obviously, yes, the way the trailer looked is a part of the reason why so many people were invested. But also, let me throw this at you: if the trailer was basically made the same engine, same graphics, and everything, but it was set in the original trilogy, do you think that trailer would have gotten more than 21 million views on YouTube, more views than the Ahsoka trailers?
Well, yeah, because then you would have pulled in a lot of the Star Wars fans. Remember, the game is not a gamer. It's not just about Star Wars fans. It's pulling in gamers. That's the whole thing.
And the fact that it got so many views is proof that
Yeah, but you would have
can
gotten
move
Star
on.
Wars fans watching it that just wanted to watch it but not buy the game. So you can't
Yeah.
base it on views. You would just
I
get
don't
people
know
just want to
about
watch
that. I
it
don't know
just
if
like,
there's any
oh,
way
this
to
looks
prove
cool.
that.
It
I don't know
it's
about
hard
that
to
one, man.
quantify for
21
sure.
million views.
yeah, but you can't
comparing this, we're
base it just on views because it's
You
YouTube.
absolutely
People
can.
watch. No, you can't. People
That
watch
shows
it just to
interest.
watch it. It
You-
doesn't mean they care about the game. I can't tell you how many trailers of games I've watched because it looks cool that I'm never going to play.
Sure. I
Ever.
don't doubt they exist. I'm doubting the amount that exists. I wouldn't put it past 5-10%. Yes, the game looked gorgeous, but people everywhere were like, this looks really fucking good and new, which is what even casual audience members I feel want for Star Wars. If that wasn't the case, Ahsoka would have blown up in views, right? But we're not seeing that.
Well, it's
But-
different strokes too. It's a game versus a show as well, and
Yeah.
the Ahsoka thing is.
Would you guys say The
for us
Mandalorian is
diehards.
basically the hottest thing in Star Wars right now?
No, not anymore.
Would you say it was?
No,
then?
it still is. It still
It
is.
was.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, so let's.
for sure.
It still is. It still is. Tell
Yeah,
me
I
what's
would
hotter.
argue it still
No,
has
no.
the most.
For it not to be the hottest, something else has to be. Tell me what's hotter.
That's a good point. That's a good point. For something in Star Wars, what's hotter than that?
Nothing.
Maybe I could throw you a prequel
Okay,
thing.
let me throw this at you, Star Wars only.
The original
Star
trilogy's
Wars-
hotter.
Hold
Get
on,
the fuck
hold
out
on,
of here.
Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, but
Let me
we
throw
got
this
to
at you
wrap up the
guys.
show. So let's do
I just
it.
want to throw this at you. What if I told you that the Mandalorian season 2 trailer, right, when it was the hottest thing around, hottest thing on Disney Plus? What if I told you that trailer got less views than the Star Wars Eclipse trailer by millions? Would that make you realize that?
No, because gamers will watch it. Even if they're not
Seriously.
interested in Star Wars.
Yeah, there's more
They'll-
gamers than Disney Plus.
You're making a false
Viewers.
equivalency. There's
am.
you are. There's gamers who are just gamers that they're not doing it because it's a Star Wars game, because they just like gaming and it looks cool. It doesn't mean because they're Star
Sure.
Wars fans.
So they'll buy
So-
the game, which is the whole point. Is can
But
we
no,
move
but
on away
again-
from Stormtroopers to get the casual audience members in? The answer
But
is yes.
also, the Mandalorian trailer was not just released on YouTube like Eclipse was. Eclipse is only on YouTube.
No, it was not.
wasn't
They
on-
released it on every platform.
What, Star Wars Eclipse? I did not see that on any
Yes,
TV
they
commercial.
released originally first released on Facebook. Actually released earlier on Facebook.
Okay,
than
you're
YouTube.
talking
That's
about
where I first saw it.
online things, though. I'm talking
Social
about
media.
I'm
cable,
talking
all right?
the
I-
official, like whatever the I can't remember what's the company, not Criterion.
Quantum
Starts with a
Whatever
Q,
name-
right? Quantum, yeah,
Quantum,
quantum something.
yeah, yeah,
Dream
yeah.
or something like that.
No, it did
Um,
not release just on YouTube. That's ridiculous. Why would they do
But
that?
okay, you're talking about just on YouTube. You're saying like, oh yes, it's on Facebook and maybe Instagram and maybe
He
maybe
means
Twitter.
on TV,
Because you
Super
brought
Bowl
up people saying they
commercials,
only released it
shit
on
like
YouTube,
Because
that.
I'm
and I was just
saying
saying
the
that's not true.
Mandalorian is something that you see. There's a trailer for it in the movie theater sometimes. Like it's the thing that leads Disney Plus commercials and all that stuff. Like I see the Mandalorian at fucking Disney parks. Like it's hard to quantify the interest in a Mandalorian.
You see it on
season
talk
2 and
shows.
Star
You
Wars
see it on,
Eclipse and
you
everything.
see it
Yeah.
everywhere. It's the zeitgeist, right? Eclipse is not part of the zeitgeist.
The only thing you can show for the Eclipse interest is the views on this one trailer, which I admit are a lot, but you can't do the same for the Mandalorian by saying, oh, it had less on YouTube, and the Mandalorian was also on TV spots, and like Lunga was saying, talk shows and everything like that. People do
Right.
press tours for this stuff. Like it is vastly different.
My point wasn't to say that this game would have been more popular or sold than the Mandalorian. I never said that. But it is a fair comparison to say, look how much interest was in this game. It was a shit
Oh
ton.
yeah, for sure.
Because
I've
it's a
always said
game.
that they shouldn't have
That
not
doesn't-
done
that's-
this game.
That means nothing. I'm sorry, that means nothing.
Yes, it does.
A Star Wars game
Yes,
set in
it
a brand new era
does.
trailer gets 21 million views.
There's a
game
no,
that's
because there's a
years
Venn,
away.
because there's a Venn, no,
There
because there's a
is
Venn
something to say
diagram
about
here.
that.
There's
The
a Venn
gaming-
diagram here, and you're trying to take the two circles and put them on top of each other like this. That's not how it
What
works.
two circles are we talking about?
Star Wars fans and gamers.
Yeah, the
Okay.
gaming community is way bigger than the movies community.
Yeah.
Like by like a
Sure.
lot.
So would you say
Especially
then, if
these
the
days,
gaming
oh my God.
community and the Star Wars community is clearly interested in this game, I understand you think that there's a number of people who would only like to watch it simply because it looks pretty. I'm going to push back on that as someone who's been more into gaming my whole life. I don't think
Yeah,
that's
but you're
true.
also a
Maybe
Star Wars
50%.
fan. You have to talk to someone who doesn't give a shit about Star Wars, who's just a gamer. And I'm telling you, the reason why there's so many views is because just gamers who like games, even if they're not interested in Star Wars itself or aren't a fan of Star Wars, they viewed a new game's coming out. Ooh, everyone's talking about this. Let me look at this video. Of course.
Right, and you're telling
it's going to
me
get a
they-
ton of views.
Right, and you're telling me those people are interested in buying the game.
What does that have to do with them being more popular than Mandalorian? It has nothing to do with Star Wars. It has to do with that it's a
Hold
game.
on. I
No,
never
you
said
guys
this
are going
game
on
was more
such a
popular
side
than
tangent.
Mandalorian. This is all part of the conversation. This is not me saying it's more popular than Mandalorian. I
We're,
never
we're,
said
we're talking
that.
about a Star Wars Eclipse when we started off with the Mandalorian game at this point.
Because
We-
the
we
whole
gotta-
point was to say that we should be moving on to new eras, and in that trailer is proof that new eras can be extremely successful. Let's look at the Jedi Survivor trailer. Since we're talking about games, 7.5 million. That's a drastic change and drastic difference. And Jedi Fallen Order was a huge success. So there's an absolute comparison.
Right. But you're trying to you said we have no proof on it, but you're trying to attribute those extra views as more Star Wars fans were hyped about it. And that's not, you can't even make that assessment. You
We're
can't.
talking about
You
how
have
this game
zero.
could be successful.
I go by Occam's razor. Okay. When you have a really cool looking trailer for a game, a lot of people look at it. Okay. If you look at it outside of Star Wars, just any other game, anywhere else, if it's a game and it has a really cool trailer, it gets tons of fucking views. Okay. So
Right.
I can't just automatically say, oh, it got more views because more Star Wars fans were interested in it. You can't make that
I said more
assessment.
I said the casual audience, right? Your casual gamers. That's why we
Gamers,
can move
which
forward
right,
to
but
new-
what does it have to do with Star Wars? How does that have to do with the conversation we were having about Mandalorian?
Well, I just compared it to the Jedi Survivor trailer, right? Jedi Survivor is a huge success.
I'm trying to understand
it's
then
set
what
in the
is,
original
but
trilogy
what
era.
comparison, what about
he's
Eclipse
talking
is
about
so
the
much?
eras. He's saying that the era of Eclipse being in the High Republic is proof that it doesn't
Okay,
need to be
so
set
it
in
has
the
to do with
original
Star
trilogy.
Wars, right? So it has to do with Star
Yes.
Wars. What I
It
said,
has to do with
right.
it being a success or not, and
right?
the potential.
You
of it.
think you really think that Eclipse got so many more views because Star Wars fans like the era so much more, and that's why it got so many more views than anything else?
Well, that's a complete straw man. That's not what I said at all. And there's
No,
no
I'm
way can
asking you, is
interpret
that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying because of how good the game looked and how interesting it looked. That alone, despite it not having stormtroopers, despite it not having Luke's, yeah, I had Yoda. I guess that's a fair point.
And it had two
but I would
Jedi
argue
fighting too.
You could remove Yoda from
yeah.
that, and it would still be good. My point was the fact that it didn't have these things, yet became such a, like, I don't want to call it a success because the game hasn't released, but in terms of popularity and interest, that's proof that we should move on. That's
Well,
my point.
I also thought it was prequels because you had the N1 starfighters in the water too, and it
You did, yeah.
and
You had
Yoda
Naboo and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
so-
Trade Federation.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Right.
of interest in that game, and it is a damn shame that
Yeah.
it never came about. But we
Hey,
gotta
it's
wrap
still
up
in the
show
works
here.
according to someone. All right.
No, well, I
We'll
don't
see.
doubt that it is probably going to happen. But
2030.
what it was is, yeah, it's kind of like the KOTOR thing. It will never be
Listen,
the version that we thought of.
I turned
If they
50
switch
this year.
studios.
Okay, it's getting to the point to where if stuff's gonna come out, it needs to fucking come out. 'Cause all right?
You gonna play the game?
Hey,
Still doesn't mean I want to watch the cutscenes. Even if I don't play a game, sometimes I'll go on YouTube and watch all the story
Go on,
cutscenes.
someone will upload them in
always
4K. You can watch them on YouTube.
Yeah,
But
Palpa
Logan,
memes
now you
will.
bring up age and things
Yeah,
and
right.
finish.
Maybe.
If George
views.
R. Martin does not finish the Winds of Winter and A Dream of
It's not
Spring
happening.
before he
He's older than me.
Was it
can,
Half-Life
well,
2? There's
I know. Oh, I know he's older than you. He's
Listen,
older than you.
right
by a
now,
lot,
the
brother.
Deadpool is will he die before the next book? Okay, the one that he claims has been, every 6 months he says,
I
"Oh, I'm
get
almost
that, I
done,"
get
and then he says, "Oh no, I'm not."
But
Okay,
that one for sure is coming out. It's if A Dream of Springs
No.
is actually
You want the
gonna come out.
reality
That's
of
the
it.
one.
he
I know
has
the
gotten so
reality.
caught up in being a celebrity. He's gotten caught up with HBO, and all his time is spent with HBO developing these shows. That's what's going on. There's more money
I know,
and more
I
stuff in
know.
that.
Yeah, I get that, but there's the story that he needs to finish, and if he doesn't, everyone will hate him for the
He's
rest
not
of the
Cody
time.
Rhodes.
Why
I have to
doesn't he
finish
sell it
the
to
story.
corporation and let them finish the story. That sounds like a fantastic idea.
No, he would only do that if they promised to do his version of the story and then not do it when they sign.
Oh, by all means, be our guest. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, yes, and that's the restaurant's name. Be our guest. It's at Magic Kingdom. It's where George Lucas sits every night and thinks about life. So let's close out the show. Lunga, do you have the show calendar? Because we do have a bit of a special announcement for March the 6th and what's coming up. So next week we're doing the Dave Filoni Mando movie. March 6th, we're actually having our very first interview, celebrity interview, whatever you want to call it. Brendan Wayne, who is Din Djarin in The Mandalorian, especially Mandalorian Season 3. He really took on a huge role in that series and really took over as Din while Pedro Pascal was off and away doing The Last of Us. So very excited to have him on March 6th. So please be there for that one. That's going to be a very good and very big episode for us. March 13th, we have The Bad Batch. We're going to catch up on whatever goddamn shows we missed from that horrible series. And then March 20th, we're going to go over Tales of the Jedi Season 1. And that these are subject to change, especially the Tales of the Jedi one, because anything can happen, and we change these up all the time. But
We might be getting an Acolyte trailer, by the way. With
We-
the news that's
yeah,
coming out in
yeah.
June. There's a decent chance it comes out. Yeah,
that's why the Dave Filoni Mandoverse one and the Tales of the Jedi you guys have probably seen on the calendars.
they're on the back
before.
burner. they're back.
Yeah,
burner.
there are topics that we can kind of push in and out and make good episodes on, but we want to stick to whatever's relevant and going on. So if 1 week Kathleen Kennedy comes out and just slaps Bob Iger in the face in public, we have to cover it. We have to cover it, and that'll be about a 3-hour episode. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this one. Please be sure to tune into February 28th next week for the Dave Filoni one, and then after that, the Brendan Wayne interview. We're very much looking forward to that. So once again, though, thanks for tuning in. Sith, thank you for coming by again, brother. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
To see him. Yeah, expect to see him on a lot more. He unfortunately signed a contract with Chatooine. Now,
What's your
now
salary here?
Yeah. If y'all
Famous
think anyone
last
gets
words.
a salary, yeah. If you think anyone gets a salary, Hiller, I have a oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. But if you guys are watching by this point, please like, subscribe, tune in next Wednesday night for the next episode of Chatooine. Thank you all for tuning in, and may the force be with you always.
Wow.